y'all. Cecile here, and welcome to Playing with Possibilities. I know it has been a while. We've been gone for a while, but today we are going to catch up. I am joined today by my friend Christine, and here in this space, we talk about everything from spirituality to social justice, from being human and connecting with our ancestors to how the things we do create our reality and how we can intentionally create our collective reality together. My name is Cecile Armstrong. I use she, her pronouns. I am a Black woman and a self care and social justice facilitator streaming from the ancestral lands of the Kicatan, colonized as Newport News, Virginia. I'm the founder of Expounded by Indigo, an online membership community where I guide folks to let go of blame, shame, and guilt so that we can make equity a habit instead of just a goal. And every month in my community, we go through 4 steps together for support and to create a habit of undoing what we've lived and learned about race, privilege, and equality. And those steps are self care, knowing your facts, undoing the work, and then resting and rejoicing so that we can avoid burnout and disillusionment. And to find out more, you can click the link in the description. And if you're watching on Facebook or LinkedIn, please give us a follow. And if you're on YouTube, please hit subscribe and then click the bell on the right so you can get notifications when we go live. Christine?
Hey, y'all, I'm Christine Gautreaux. I use she, her pronouns. I am a white social justice advocate, an international speaker, coach, and published author. And I am coming to you today from the ancestral lands of the Muskogee Creek. I'm about a mile east of the Chattahoochee River in a place now called Duluth, Georgia. And I am the co-host of Women Connected in Wisdom podcast. I am a what else to say about what I do, right?
You're an author.
I am an author of 2 books, one about self-care and for caregivers, private and personal, and a private, whew, it's been a minute since we've done that, professional.
Yes.
And Cecile and I have a new book. She's one of the authors in my new upcoming book called Women Connected in Wisdom, a book rooted in the stories and resources of care, the 8 dimensions of wellness. So so happy to be with y'all because the through line of my work is to take care, self-care in order to sustain your community care is basically what it's about. And that's what we've been doing when we've been off here is
right.
maintaining our businesses, but also taking a pause for self-care because this summer
has been intense.
Right?
Very much so. So before we get started with our catch up, I would love to take a breath.
Oh, please.
Okay. All right. So I am inviting you guys, if you're watching live or on the replay, to take a breath with us. So if you're sitting down, please sit up straight to give your belly room to expand. Have your head over your shoulders, shoulders over your hips. And if you need to wiggle around to adjust, go right ahead. And if you're comfortable with it, go ahead and close your eyes. And then just notice your body. Pay attention. Are your shoulders up around your ears? If they are, drop them down. Notice your jaw. A lot of us hold tension there. Notice your jaw. And if you feel a little tension, wiggle it out. And then bring your attention to your belly. Just relax your belly like nobody's watching. You don't have to suck it in for anybody. Just let it go. And then take in a deep breath and just let your belly expand. And then exhale at your own pace. Let's do that one more time. As you take in that deep belly breath, notice that your belly not only goes forward, you're going to feel it on your sides. You might even feel it in your back. And this time, as you exhale, make some noise with it and wiggle your body around. Woo. All right. Then when you're ready, you can open your eyes. I needed that.
I did too. I hated missing your meditations for persistence last night. I love that meditation on Sunday nights. And
Oh, thank you.
I got caught up in a project and just blew past the time. So
Oh,
I've
that's
been
okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I just wanted to say the listeners that listen now, will you give them a shout out about that Sunday night group because
Yeah.
it's so helpful.
Yeah, okay. So I'm the creator of a group called Meditations for Persistence, and this is a Facebook group, and it was created after the 2016 election, and so we talk politics, and then we also talk self-care. And so if you're interested in social justice, and if you're watching this, I'm guessing that you are. If you're interested in social justice and activism, and also combining ways to stay grounded so that you can, continue to do the work that you do, and so you can continue to take care of yourself, then I invite you to join us. And in that group, we do talk about those things. And then on Sunday nights at 8 o'clock Eastern, 8 p.m. Eastern time, we go live and do a live meditation. I show up on second Sundays, and then I've got a whole group of friends, including Christine Gautreaux, who show up on the Sundays in between to lead these live meditations. And every meditation is different. And so, those of you who know me and know how I do meditation, I've got 5 other friends that are doing all different techniques. And anyway, I love it that those friends have come forward to help me maintain this group, because it was hard for me to do by myself, which is why I stepped away for a while. So I am grateful to my friends that have stepped up to help lead those meditations and help lead the discussions in the group. So thanks, Christine.
You are so welcome. Today, our colleague and friend, Dr. Cynthia Phelps, who's in that group, is her
Hmm.
birthday. So just giving a
What?
shout
Happy
out.
birthday,
Happy
Cynthia.
birthday, Cynthia. We love you.
Yeah.
I was chatting up with her this morning and launched into something, and she said something, and it clicked that it was her birthday, and I started singing. I was like, because usually I call my friends and I sing to them for their birthday, and that's how I
Mhm.
start the conversation. But I was just in go mode this morning with it being a Monday
I
morning.
I don't think no, I didn't even know it was her birthday because I don't have it on my calendar, so I had to call her.
All right. Yeah.
All right. Okay, so today, like I said, we're catching up, but
Mhm.
there's some pretty big stuff in the news that I
Mm,
think we ought to acknowledge. Um,
great.
yeah. So, what's all over the news right now is about the FBI doing that search
Mhm,
warrant on
mhm.
Mar-a-Lago.
In the United States, yep,
Yeah. Yep.
absolutely.
Hmm. And so,
I've been following along on Twitter,
hmm
and I should pull it up because it was cracking me up. But somebody's like, every time I just think I'm gonna get off, I'm gonna get off, and then something new pops up, and something new pops up, and it's
hmm
like being at a party and saying, "Just 5 more minutes, just 5 minutes,"
right,
right?
right.
Um, yeah, the bombshells have been dropping here,
Hmm.
and it is
And the
so.
spin is crazy.
Oh, the
Well,
spin
not
is
just crazy. The spin is out of control. Let me say that. The spin is out of
right.
control.
Right. It feels like our media hasn't learned anything in the last 6 years about
Yeah.
this whole this whole distorted concept of what they think equality is, and letting
Mm,
things that are not true, and letting yeah, giving
mhm,
equal time to things that are not facts, that are
mhm.
not truth, right?
Right.
And I'm here in Georgia, so
Oh, so you're in the thick of it.
whoo,
You're in the thick of a lot of it.
right,
Because
right.
isn't that where Marjorie Taylor Greene is from? Okay.
She's a little north of me. Thank goodness she's not my representative. But
Okay.
yeah, I'm in Gwinnett County. She's in another county, and you know we're still in the same state.
Yeah.
So yeah, that whole thing about defund the FBI, when they're trying to hold one privileged white male accountable for
Right. Mhm.
crimes, and all of a sudden defund the FBI. I
And
just,
not just crimes, but like possibly
national
international
security,
crime, national and
right?
international
Right?
crime, not just like minor crime, not misdemeanors.
Right. And
Mhm,
for people who aren't reading, right? That
mhm,
they are just looking at the headlines, or they are not investigating, that
mhm,
are just going one side or the other. I mean, I know that I think is part of the strategy,
mhm.
because people are so busy. They're busy trying to survive, right? They're busy
Right.
at work. They're busy trying to survive. So it's just like, oh, let's throw up this clickbait headline, and
Mhm.
people are going to. But it's like, y'all. check your
Right.
facts. Like
Right.
the FBI does not raid people's homes on a whim, and there is some damning evidence. And
Mhm.
it's like, check your facts. And yeah, when Marjorie Taylor Greene started calling for defund the FBI, I'm here in Atlanta, so I immediately thought of Martin
Mhm.
Luther King Jr.,
Mhm.
Malcolm X. Like the FBI has been investigating Black folks
Yeah.
for its entire
Well,
history.
I was gonna say, I don't have a problem with defunding the FBI, but not because they're actually legitimately doing an investigation into some rich, privileged, politically influential white man. I've got a problem with the FBI for a whole host of other reasons. The way that they attack anybody who's like fighting for liberation. That's a reason
Right?
to defund the FBI, along with
Mm.
the other police. But not because they're actually following the evidence on somebody who's got power.
Well, the other thing is just how much grifting is going on, right? Because I
Oh,
don't know if
yeah.
you saw, like the minute that she put that up, the next day she had shirts and was selling shirts about
Oh, no,
defund
I
the
didn't
FBI.
see that.
I was like, this
Well,
is an elected, I don't, it just,
even Trump, he's the one who told the media that Mar-a-Lago was, under a search warrant, and then he immediately started fundraising off of it. So it's not like the FBI put it out there. Trump put it out there and then sent out a
mhm,
fundraising email. So I'm not
mhm,
surprised. She's learning from
mhm,
him, and people are sending money.
mhm.
That part I don't get.
I don't get it.
I don't get that part.
Well, yeah, it is, yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, we're gonna look back at this like when we are little old ladies in our rocking chairs, and this is in the history books about like,
Hmm.
wow, y'all, that was a wild time to live through. You lived through that, and we're like barely.
Hmm.
But yes, right. If we still
Hmm.
have a planet, which good news, good news
Yes.
about this new climate change bill, and
Oh
that
my
we
goodness.
may actually affect some change here in our
I
lifetime.
know. This
Like,
is the biggest thing that the U.S. federal government has done for climate change ever.
mhm, mhm,
So yeah, what is it
right?
called? The Inflation Reduction Act. The only piece that I was like
Mhm.
irritated about is it's already scaled down from what they initially wanted, but
Of
it's still
course.
a lot. But
Mhm,
the fact that Kristen Sinema held out on the piece about taxing corporations, at 15%. That's not even the
mm.
same as what
We get
individuals
taxed
pay,
out. Yep.
right? But she
Mhm.
held out for that to be. Did they take it all the way out, or did they just reduce the amount? I think they just reduced the amount.
I would have to look at the final. I haven't looked at the final bill that came through, but,
Yeah, me either. But
yeah,
that but
it's
that sticking up for corporations at the expense of people in the planet, I'm like, really? And how does one person have that much influence?
right.
Really? One
Well,
person?
and the thing I question, because I know we're here on LinkedIn, so I know that, there's a lot of corporations and people going, "Hey," but, the thing I question is the whole lobbying and the whole mechanism,
Mhm.
because that's why she's doing it. It's not
Right.
because she was elected by the citizens of the United States who voted her in.
Mhm.
It's the lobbyists who, it's
Mhm.
this big money. It's this
Mhm.
big money problem that we have in the US. And
Mhm.
that, yeah, I think that, whew, so many things that need to change. And
And
we have to pause and celebrate what has worked, right?
right. Yep.
And
That's step 4 in my process, remember? You
right?
gotta rest and you gotta celebrate.
Absolutely.
Because if we
Absolutely.
wait till we get till everything is done till we reach our final goal, a lot of us are not gonna make it to the final goal. So you gotta celebrate your baby steps along the way because that's what keeps you going, when you recognize, "Hey, we did make some progress."
Speaking of celebrating, my friend,
Mhm.
I want to celebrate. One of the reasons we were off is you and I were both taking part in the Alternate Roots conference
Mhm.
in different parts of the country. But for our listeners, Alternate Roots is an arts organization where arts and activism meets. It's a Southern organization
Mhm.
that we are both voting board members of. And just,
Oh,
I want to celebrate that
yeah.
because, when I first met you, there were two things I said to you, right?
Yeah.
What'd I say?
He said I needed to be part of alternate roots, and you wanted me to be a part of Interplay.
Mhm.
And Alternate Roots Week and the Interplay Leaders Conference were at the same time, and we both participated in both.
Right?
Yeah. Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And
Good stuff.
I'm so excited to be part of Alternate Roots. I mean, I never thought when I joined a year ago as a voting member, um, had no idea that I was gonna be voted on to the executive committee a year later.
Well done, my friend.
So,
Well
yeah.
done. Yeah, doing good work. And I
Mhm.
also what I realized, I always have a week of self-care after those 2 big conferences because 'cause they're big and I'm integrating that info and a lot of people, and I don't know about y'all, but this pre-pandemic schedules, post-pandemic, whew,
Mm,
about to wear
yeah.
me
It
out.
doesn't work.
It doesn't
It doesn't
work.
work.
We need to
Mm-mm.
make some changes.
Mhm.
That conference is well, both conferences actually remind me the call to action about art, like
Mhm.
that art makes a difference, and
Mm,
as cultural bearers and cultural tellers and organizers, that we need to be doing our art, that
mhm.
it's not secondary, it's
Right.
not when everything else gets done, because
Mhm.
there's not a time that anything
No.
everything gets done, right?
No, there really is not.
I was working on an art project yesterday. That's why I missed meditations, because I was just in it, and
Mhm.
I hadn't done that in a while. But this is a postcard project that I'm doing with my friend Sabra, who's in a nursing home, and so
Mhm.
we've been creating a postcard every day in August and mailing it to people across the world, and
Oh,
it's
nice.
organized. It's really fun, and I'd
Mhm.
gotten a little behind with the conferences, so I was catching up
Mhm.
on the postcards and what I was sending, and
I haven't done one of those in a long time. It's been
right.
years.
Right? It's
Yeah.
just it is making art, like, for random strangers and just putting your stuff out into the world is
Mhm.
fascinating to me,
Mhm.
and it is part of the my process of letting go, right?
Mhm.
Instead of getting caught up in the perfectionism of it, create
Mhm.
it. In Interplay Improv, on performance, we have a statement, "Get on, get off, get over it." Right?
Okay, I like that.
Like, you get on, you do your best, you use all your skills, you get
Mhm.
off, and you get over it. You don't
Mhm.
ruminate on it. You go on to the next thing,
Oh,
right?
I like that. I like that. And I wanna say too, with the Alternate Roots Conference in particular, the first part of the week was all on Zoom, so we had, like, 3 days of, like, intense Zoom meetings.
Business
I
meetings.
couldn't
I
even
will say the best business meetings I've ever attended in my life,
Yeah.
and they're still, it's a lot of Zoom
They're
time.
intense. It's a lot
Mhm,
of Zoom time, and they're intense
mhm,
meetings. And then, so we had 3 days of that, then a break, and then we had 3 days in person, but in small groups because
mhm,
there were,
mhm,
3 pods
mhm.
around the South,
And
and it
then
was
one
like
online. Yeah.
yeah, and then one online. And so getting together with people in person, even though I loved it, because I haven't been around people at a lot,
Mhm.
the last couple years, it was also stressful because I haven't been around people a lot for the last few years. And so
Right?
that was kind of intense too.
Right? It took
I
me a
wasn't the
week to
only
get
one
over
there who
it.
said that.
Took me a week to get over it.
Right.
I did my baseline stuff last week, but not much else because I was
Mhm,
in recovery mode after people in that much. And y'all, I'm a huge extrovert. So I
mhm,
can't imagine my introverts or people that like, yeah, this is a new time we're living in. It's very
mhm,
interesting, like
mhm.
bringing all that back into balance.
Yeah, but I will say that the COVID protocols that they had in place made me feel a lot better about
Mhm,
being there. So,
mhm. I
yeah.
don't think we had any, I don't think we had any cases
I
that
haven't
were
heard of any.
created from there. And here's an interesting thing, because that's in the news that the CDC just released relaxing all the protocols
Yeah,
because
well.
they said that it's the flu and it's here to stay, which, yes, I get
Mhm,
it. I get it. And y'all, when I had it, I was sick for 2 weeks. And when you own your own business and
mhm,
you go down like that, it's like,
mhm.
I'm gonna keep wearing my mask in public just
Right.
because I haven't been sick, like, come on,
And
I gotta wear my mask,
what about all the people who are immune compromised,
that it can
and
still kill
that it
them. Yeah.
right, it can still kill them. Yeah.
Mhm.
So they're
And
just
our
like, "Whatever,
elderly and yeah,
whatever."
yeah.
It's like, "No, I'm gonna continue to wear
And the
my mask."
flu, I mean, I don't have those numbers in front of me. I mean, but the flu kills thousands of people a year too.
But not like COVID.
But yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
It's yeah,
I think there's gotta be something in between, you know? How do you just say, "Oh, well, people aren't wearing masks anyway, so I'm just gonna give up. I'm just gonna
well,
give up
and
this thing."
one of their justifications, which I thought was fascinating, was, lower cases. And I can tell you just by looking at social media, that's not true.
Right.
What I think is happening is people aren't reporting it,
Mhm.
right? Because there's so much self-testing.
Mhm.
But if you were to comb social media and look at how many COVID tests are positive, I just find it fascinating. And maybe they do that. I don't know. I don't
Mhm.
work there or know what's going on, but it is interesting times we live in.
Yeah, well, I was looking at I can't remember what I was looking at, but, it was some I can't remember the website, but it was the number of deaths that were being reported that are attributed to COVID, and it's still in the hundreds every week, right?
Mhm. It's
So,
significant. We've just gotten okay with people dying.
yeah.
I think we've gotten numb to it.
Mhm.
And I think that, I've known people from the beginning, so it's very near and dear to my heart. Like, people that I love have lost significant people, and
Mhm.
people I love have been lost.
Mhm.
And uh, so I think in some ways, it's your exposure to grief and loss. It's like, who
Yeah.
have you lost, right?
Mhm.
Because I think those of us that have known people and have lost people, we have a different take on it because
Mhm.
it is real and it
Mhm.
is right up here and personal.
Well, I think
Oh,
I think a lot of people, as many people as have died and have been really sick, I think a lot of people either don't know someone or are in denial about it because there are a lot of
mhm,
people on social media who are saying that, the hospitals were never overwhelmed, that was just a lie, or, people never that many people never really died. But I know people who worked at hospitals and,
mhm,
have PTSD or have
mhm,
been,
mhm,
traumatized because of the healthcare work that they do and the exposure that they've had and the indifference and the hate directed towards them because they're telling their experience. And so I just need to take a breath from that because I
right,
just even if it's not your experience, how do you deny someone else's? And how do you say people aren't dying? People are dying.
right.
Mhm.
I think I'm going to sound like my grandmother now. The evils of social media. But I think this is one of the things. Well, what was that act there? I should know it off the top of my head, but the one where um, journalists can say things that aren't true, I
Oh,
mean, there was something
I
that
don't remember.
I'd have to look it up, but there was something that got removed from the books where, because used to we had it legislated where if you were calling it journalism or it was the news, there was a certain standard and
Mhm.
it had to be the truth.
Mhm.
And since that has gotten taken away, we've seen all the misinformation, we've seen all the things,
Mhm.
and I think the same thing about this, right?
Mhm.
And that the facts are, people interpret them or misinterpret, and they say,
Mhm.
I did my own research, and if you go looking, you probably can find something that justifies your way of being or your life, but is it
Mhm.
scientific? Is it peer reviewed? Is it a
Mhm.
fact, or is it
Or is it something that's been twisted? As a matter of fact, I'm working on my blog post, not for this week, but for next week. And
Mhm,
one of the things that I was looking at was the um, push from Florida to remove gender affirming care from Medicaid. And I was reading the document that they were using where they were presenting this research saying, okay, this is all the research that says that gender affirming care is harmful and doesn't work. Well, it turns out that out of all 12 um, pieces of research that they cited saying the research actually said the opposite, and the scientists didn't even know that their research was being used to attack the LGBTQ community. And
mm-mm,
legislators are voting based on somebody saying this doesn't work and is harmful when the facts show the opposite.
Right? And I
Yeah.
think people are just so busy, and I mean, I'm guilty of this sometimes, like, going from one thing to the other, we're in survival mode and trying to get
Mhm,
things done,
mhm.
that we don't stop to take the time to really look and use critical thinking and
Right.
analyze and
Mhm,
have a lens of social justice or
mhm.
have a lens of race. Like, how do
Yeah,
you all of
yeah,
that. All
yeah,
of that.
yeah. Really,
Ooh,
and
I was reading something recently, it was just last week, about a long-term educator quitting in Florida because they had had a specialist come into their classroom and take down, historical Black
yeah,
figures. Did you read that?
yeah, I saw that.
Um, and
Mhm.
said they weren't age appropriate. To have President Obama's picture on a wall in
Right,
elementary school, like,
right.
come on,
Mhm,
y'all. Come on,
mhm.
y'all. This
Right.
is not okay.
No, it's
So,
not. It's
right?
not. Yeah.
Whew.
Yeah, take a breath.
Right?
Yeah, so anyway, this is
Mm.
this is just a lot, and I will say again, this is why I have this online community inspired by Indigo, because
Mhm.
again, it's about making equity a habit and making looking for these things or noticing when things are not equitable. It's about being able to do that automatically instead of having to stop and think, "Oh my goodness, I see this blatant thing, so now let me look at it." It's about training people so that
Mhm.
as you read the news, you automatically have that lens for equity
Mhm.
and it's not such a burden. And so if you make that a habit, then every time you read, you're like, oh, I see the inequity in this. And let me point this
Right.
out when I make my comment instead of just, let me react emotionally on this. And so
Absolutely.
this is why I go through the 4 steps every month, getting people in their bodies, making sure that you know one specific fact for the month, talking about how do you take this out into the world to make a difference, and then giving your body and mind and spirit a chance to rest and acknowledge what you did, that even if you tried something that didn't work, the fact that you tried is still a win. So
Right.
when you get in the habit of doing this over and over and over, then it's not such a big deal to talk about equity or to make sure that you're pushing for equity because it's a habit.
I
Yeah.
agree.
And so if this sounds good to you, if it sounds like something important to you, you can reach out on my website at Cecile, Sacil, Armstrong.com, and you will find my Inspired by Indigo community. Because it takes
Absolutely.
all of us. It takes all of us, which is why I want people to know this and make this a habit, because it takes all of us doing this, not just
Right?
Black folks, not just women, not just
Mhm.
LGBTQ. It takes
Mhm.
everybody seeing equity across the board.
Well, and one of the things I want to tag on to that, Cecile, because both you and I are embodied racial justice workers.
Mhm,
And what I want to say to folks who are just starting or haven't started yet, but are like, oh, that's terrifying, y'all, or I
mhm.
I can't do that. It gets easier,
Yeah.
especially when you're in community. Like when you listen to your body and I look at from when I started years ago
Mhm,
and didn't know what I was doing and was terrified of making mistakes all over the place. Still make mistakes. I mean, it's part
mhm,
of being human.
mhm.
Um, and to now, when things, we can be live talking about stuff and I'm not hyperventilating in the background that
Right.
I'm gonna, it
Mhm,
could still happen. I could still totally screw it up live. But showing up without that fear, like showing
mhm.
up to do the work. And I
Yeah.
think that is, I think I want to say to folks, especially white people who are uncomfortable with this or this,
Mhm,
like they're like, I was taught not to do that. Yep, so was I,
mhm. On
raised in the
purpose.
South
On
on
purpose, because
purpose,
that supports white
on
supremacy
purpose.
when white people are too afraid to speak up. Yeah.
Absolutely. And so there are tools and there are techniques and there are ways to do it. And what I have found in this work is community and friendship
Mhm,
and not feeling helpless. Like, I mean, having these tools to speak up and speak out, and or even if it's just maybe you're not speaking out, maybe you're just reading the news, but understanding it better and
mhm,
using a critical analysis with it
mhm.
is just amazing. Like it's
Yeah.
life changing.
I was
I
gonna
think we
say it's
don't
life-changing. Yeah.
people don't talk about that much, right? Because
Mhm.
the news portrays activists as, the angry people that are always protesting. Hey, been there and done that too.
Right.
And there's all kinds of ways to be an activist. You
Mhm,
know, it could be in just writing your legislatures. It could
mhm,
be in living your values and speaking out for your
mhm.
values when you need to. So I
Yes.
think we sometimes have to remind folks because, you know, we know what it means when we talk about it. And
Right.
I just think about it, especially being at alternate roots, like it could be doing art around this,
Mhm,
y'all. Like
mhm. Oops. Just locked my
I
computer.
love me some good protest art. Like I
Yeah.
was in a space last weekend and looking at some of the art and I was like, "Whew, that's good." Like art that makes a social commentary and you're just like,
Mhm,
"Woo, that's good."
mhm. Yeah,
So,
I think you're right though that people hear the word activist and they automatically think in the streets
mhm,
protester, people
mhm,
screaming with their fists in the
mhm,
air. But one of the things that I talk about in the community is you can make a difference in the social circles where you already are.
mhm,
You don't have to
mhm.
go anywhere else.
Well, you had that great program, How to Talk to Your Racist Friends and Family. Like,
Oh
you're
yeah.
bringing that back, aren't you?
I am.
Oh,
I haven't
good.
decided on the date, but I'm gonna run it again in September. And so,
Okay.
yeah, and I'm gonna use the same format because that podcast format
Mhm,
worked so that people could
mm.
just download it and listen throughout the day whenever they had time, and then we can meet, twice on Zoom for people to ask questions and practice what they wanna say. But yeah, how to talk to your racist friends and family is basically a guide on how to get into your body, do the self-care, do the community care, learning how to hold space, making sure that you have your facts together and in order. And you don't have to know everything, but know what you're going to talk about. And then actually having the discussion and then taking the time to decompress afterwards. So it's about how to do the steps, and there are specific things that I go over on how to do this to make it easier. And so, yeah, I'm going to run that program again in
I thank
September.
you. Thank you for doing that before the holidays. Just, thank you.
Yeah, this would be a good thing to do to know before you have Thanksgiving dinner, right?
Right? Right. Maybe just a little,
Just
but
a little bit.
just a
Yeah,
bit. Depends where you're
yeah.
going
How
home
to
to, right?
That's right, right. How you know how to set yourself up to be successful and
Mhm,
not fall into those
mhm,
traps of arguments and all that
mhm,
kind of stuff. And even it's even about figuring out if the people that you wanna talk to, if it's worth your energy to talk to those people because some
mhm,
people
mhm,
it's just not worth your energy to try to convince them of anything because they have
mhm.
made up their mind. They are not going to think critically. They are not going to accept anything that doesn't agree with them. So it's even about how to evaluate, is it worth my time to say anything or should I just be quiet and focus on my dinner until I go home?
Well, and the other thing I found, not naming any names in my family, but the other thing I found is sometimes it's not even a matter of they're not going to change their mind. They're going to purposely engage you in that argument
Bad
to
faith
waste
arguments.
your energy.
Yes.
So then you
Yes.
don't have the energy to put it towards the things that make a difference,
Oh my
right?
gosh. Yeah. So much
It
that.
is, yeah.
Hmm.
So it's, yeah. Whew,
Yeah. Yeah.
whew,
It's just about all of that. Thank you for bringing that up because
right?
yeah, that's coming. I haven't started the, promotion for that, but it's coming, y'all. It's
Oh, I'm
coming.
excited. Yeah, that was a great program. I really
Thank
enjoyed
you.
that, my friend.
Thank
So,
you.
yeah, this is good stuff.
Yeah.
Well, how have you been taking care of yourself? We told listeners that we took a break and we're
Yeah.
taking care of ourselves. Do we want to share any self care
Oh,
before we
I
jump off here?
I don't mind. I am in my hometown of Newport News, Virginia, which is right on the water, and I have been making it a point to get in the water as much as
Mhm.
possible. One time, I think it was week before last, I made it into the James River, the Chesapeake Bay, and the Atlantic Ocean within 24 hours because I was just determined to dip my body in all the water.
Mm.
Yeah, so that's my big thing right now is swimming and floating as much as possible in the water.
Right? I love
Yeah.
this time of year. I
What
love
about you?
swimming, and
Yeah.
I will say so this year I planted a lot of, native plants to bring in
Mhm.
some more pollinators as part of my environmental, nurturing of our planet,
Mhm.
and so what I love to do is just take these long rambling walks and take pictures of flowers and the
Yeah.
pollinators, and that just feeds my soul.
Mm.
It's,
Mhm.
and there I mean, think think Atlanta in August. They're slow, long these are not like workouts. These are we are rambling, we're drinking
You're
some iced
strolling. You are
tea,
not power walking.
we're strolling, we're taking pictures. Like, I've got the workouts. That's on a different channel, but this is something that feeds my soul. And
Mhm.
yesterday I was doing a program, and part of it I was doing a little ceremony in my backyard. And right when I stepped into the center of the labyrinth, this doe stepped up to the other side of the fence and just was
Oh.
watching me, and
Mhm.
then jumped the fence and walked around my labyrinth, which I know she normally walks through
What?
it because I can
Mhm.
tell by when rocks are kicked out of the way.
Mhm.
But she walked around the labyrinth and hung out with me while I was,
Oh, wow.
yeah, it was pretty
That's
powerful.
that's
So
cool. Yeah.
being outside, singing to my trees,
Mhm.
doing all those
Mhm.
things is one of the ways I take care of myself.
Yeah. Well, you know how much I love trees. So,
Right?
yeah, I was out talking to the trees yesterday. So,
So
yeah.
fun. So
Yeah.
fun. Well, I am so grateful to be back. I have
Me
missed you.
too. I have missed you too.
I missed our regular interplay and the playing with possibilities. I want to call our friend today's name. Like, hello, we miss
Yes.
you.
Yeah, we miss
And
you a day.
yeah, just it was great to see him at the leaders gathering. And I know that summer is busy, y'all, and it's winding
Mhm.
down. Kids are going back to school. We're looking
Mhm.
towards fall. I
Mhm.
was, out there at dawn yesterday, and there was a little bit of hint of fall in the air.
I
So,
haven't seen it, but I'm looking forward to cooler weather.
right, it was just a hint. Well, especially as crazy as this heat wave has been, it's
Yeah.
just
Yeah, the heat has
whew.
gotten in the way of me doing my regular walks and being outside
Mhm,
because it's just so uncomfortable. If I can't be in the
mhm.
water, I don't wanna be outside because it's too hot.
Right, right, it's
Yeah.
hot.
Mhm.
So, all right, my
Alright,
friends.
y'all. We talking at the same time. As always, I am sending y'all fierce love, and we will see you next time. Alright.